Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Yetta, and I am so happy you could join me today. Today's collaboration is Anything Autumn, and the hosts are the Crowley Crafter, and her co-host is Crafting My Best Life with Lisa, and the guest hosts are Joyful Designs, All Things Home on a Budget, Divine Designs, myself, and Live It, Decor, and more. And don't forget to check out the playlist down in my description box when you're done with this video. Okay, for project number one, I got one of these wood books and I'm painting it with Waverly's chalk paint and plaster. And I'm only giving it one coat, I believe. And then I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge once that's dry. And while that's drying, I got this Grateful wood cutout and I'm going to paint that with Glacier Blue, I believe it is. And then I'm going to take this really beautiful napkin. I'm going to just use the top plies. I'm going to separate the plies. So we're just using the top part. And then I'm going to lay that down on my, oh no, I'm not. I'm, I'm going to rip around the designs. I don't use the whole napkin. And I'm just very carefully just ripping it around so it's not like a clear cut. And it will blend in really well at the end. You'll see, you can't even tell. But just very gently, uh, just ripping around. Then once I got that done, now I'm going to lay it down on my wood book. Yeah, making sure my Mod Podge is dry. And I'm just playing around a little bit with the placement where I want it. And then once I've done that, I'm going to put my parchment paper on top. And then I'm going to use my mini heat press to go over it to adhere the napkin. It'll activate the Mod Podge so the napkin will adhere to it without any wrinkles, which is a bonus. Sometimes I like the wrinkles, sometimes I don't, and this is one of those that I don't really want any wrinkles. So once I've done that, I'm just kind of feeling around, making sure everything is down tight, and if it's not, I just put the parchment paper down again and go over it with my mini heat press until I'm happy and um, sure that it's secured. And then I just go around the edges with my sanding block, sanding off that excess napkin. And then I'm going to go over with this antique Mod Podge. I'm just going to go around the edges of my design first, and then I'll go over the entire thing. And I'm just doing it very little and very lightly so that I won't wrinkle up the napkin or get it soaked, because then you'll create bubbles underneath. So just very lightly. And this is the first time I'm using this antique wax, and I actually like it. You can tell the difference on it, not a distinct difference, but just enough that it looks aged. So yeah, I really like this one. And then here I'm just very gently going over the whole thing. And then once I've done that, while that's drying, I'm going to take some ribbon and I'm just going to make a awareness ribbon, and then I'll tie it off in the middle. I'm just using some jute twine, and then I'm just double checking and to see where I need to cut the tail. So I'm kind of debating, do I want to cut them at an angle or do I want to do ducktail? But I ended up doing it at an angle, trying to figure out like which way so I can match the other side. And then I'll glue that down to my little wood block. And then I have one of those little wood leaves that I'm going to add right in the middle of my bow, like so. I think it went so well with the pumpkins. And then we're going to hot glue down our grateful sign as well. And you'll see that glacier blue matched so well with the blue pumpkins on the napkin. I think this all tied in well together. I like this one. It's a nice little shelf sitter. But you gotta let me know what you think about this one. There we go. I'm gonna do, oh yeah, I want to distress the edges a little bit, and I'm using, I believe that was Waverly's chalk paint and hazelnut. And I'm just gonna go around the edge of the wood block and just distress it. If you don't like distressing, you can skip this part. And that's what it looks like. I like it. I think it turned out super cute. Okay, project number two. I got this little cutting board. I've had that for a little while, and I got that at Hobby Lobby. And I'm just gonna take the tag and that little faux leather ribbon off, and then I got some leftover of this um, scrapbook paper. And here I'm just gonna play around with the placement. I want some of the sunflowers on there. I want some of the pumpkins on there. So I just kind of feeling around the edges of my cutting board under it. That way I'll kind of know what's going to end up being on my cutting board. And once I have it, I just flip it over, trace it, and then I'll cut it out. I didn't trace the top because I wanted that not to be covered because, I kind of wanted it to look like a pumpkin. Then I've cut that and I'm just making sure that it fits correctly. And then I'm just using my Elmo's glue stick on the cutting board and making sure it gets a good coat. And then I'll lay down my scrapbook paper on top and just make sure it's placed correctly. And then once I've done that, I start going around the edges, pressing it down, making sure it's nice and tight on there. And then once I've done the edges, I start doing the middle part of the cutting board like so. And then just to give it a little extra distressing around the edges, I went in with my sanding block and I went all the way around. Just so the edges look a little rough. And I like how that turned out as well. Then once I've gotten all the way around, I'm just going to add some hot glue right with the paper and the handle of the cutting board meat. And I'm just going to add some Spanish moss. And you can do as little or as much as you want. I wanted to get a little bit more in there because I didn't want it to disappear when I put the other embellishments on there. So I just went ahead and added some more. So that way I know it'll be seen. And then once I got that on, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a haircut just to get a little bit of that craziness tamed down a little bit. And then I got to go ahead and figure out the placement of my little leaves. And then once I have that, I'll just add a little dab of hot glue and then put it back. And then I add a little bit more hot glue so that way the Spanish moss with hot glue onto it as well. And then I go in with another leaf and I do the same thing as I did with the first one. And then once I got that glued down tight, I'm going to take one of the little sunflowers and add that right on top of the leaves, right where they connect. And then I got, there's some little, I don't even know if they're little thingies that came with the pig. And I'm just cutting two of those. I'm going to add those as well on top of the leaves, but the tip of it under the sunflower, just to give it a little extra texture to it. And then we'll add both of them under there. And then I'm trying to think, I'm probably going to use those berry garland right here. And I'm going to use a pencil. I'm just going to wrap it around so we can spiral it. And I'm just using, I think the length of the pencil actually. Yeah. And then when I get to the top, I'll just cut it off. And the piece that I cut off, I'll just make sure I bend that around. Just that around the pencil as well. And then I'll pull it off. And you got this little nice spiral thing. And then I'm just going to add it to the top of my cutting board handle. And then when I got it on there, then I'm just going to use a little dab of glue in the middle where they meet, just to hold them down. Like so. And then I decided to make a little shoelace bow with this orange jute twine. And here I'm just trying to figure out the placement. And once I have that, I'll add a little bit of hot glue to the back of that one. And then press that right back down. And I hadn't done anything with the handle of my cutting board because I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to leave it as it was or if I wanted to paint it. And I decided to wait and see at the end when I had added everything on to see which way I wanted to go. So I do end up painting that with waveless chalk paint and truffle. But the wood part alone looked nice too. But I felt like the truffle would tie in better with the design. And that's it for this one. Let me know what you think. Okay, for project number 3, I got this wood round. I've already painted that with waveless chalk paint and plaster. I gave it 2 coat. And once that's dry, I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge. Then I got this napkin that I'm taking the back ply off. So again, we're just going to use the top ply. And then I'm working with the placement here. And I'm being very, very careful with it because the last time I used this napkin and that was on a square wood piece and it was so crooked. I don't know how you can get it crooked on a square piece. So I took my time with this one and made sure that it was even all the way around. And it is. It turned out very nice. I'm not sure how I could get it so crooked with the square one. And I ended up redoing that because it just, yeah, it just didn't sit well with me. So lesson learned. Take your time. And here I'm going all the way around, and once that's down, I'm going to go in with my little sanding block, or the sip sander, and I'm just going to go around the edge to get the excess paper off. And then I have this little metal sign that I got from the Dollar Tree a while back, and I'm just using Fix All to go around the raised areas, the outline of the metal round, or the metal piece, and then I'm going to add that down, and I'm trying not to touch the glue as I'm flipping it over, which was a little difficult, but yeah, we got it down. No glue on the hands, so all is good. And then this is the next day. I let it sit overnight to fully dry before I started working on it some more. And here I'm just adding this nautical rope around the edge of my wood round. And I have it laying down while I'm doing it so that way I know it's laying down flat and the nautical rope is kind of raised a little bit. If you do it when you're holding it, it may be raised on the backside too, and I kind of wanted to avoid that. So that's why I'm doing it laying down. And then I have this pretty ribbon from the Dollar Tree as well, and I thought it went really well with what I got going on here. So I'm going to use that to make an awareness bow. Here I'm just going to measure out the size that I want for the bow and then cut the piece off that I need. And then we'll make the bow again. I think I may have made it a little bit longer, a little bit bigger. So here we're making the awareness bow, and then I scrunch it up in the middle, and I'm going to tie a piece of jute twine around it. Just making sure the arrangements of it is good. And here I'm dovetailing them, so I'm folding it in the middle, and on the folded side I cut it at a diagonal, at an angle down, and then I'm just kind of see how that will look. Playing around with my loops and my tails. And then I wanted to add another little wood leaf in the middle. So I'm trying to pick the one that kind of went really well with the ribbon and the rest of the wood round. And then I'll add the bow as well. And then I'll just put a little jute twine on the back as a hanger, which you'll see at the end, but that's what it looks like. I love it. It's so nice and colorful for fall. All right, the last one for today, project number 4. We're going to make some pumpkins out of this pumpkin placemat. And I'm using the wood round um, to trace so we can get a nice circle out of it. So I'm going to fold it in half with the plain side up because then I'll be able to see where I trace better and I'm not distracted by the design. And I'm just going to use a pencil to go around. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it where we traced it. And then when I cut that out, I'm going to take a thread some thread on a needle, and I'm starting from the inside so that way it will be less visible and the knot on the thread is on the inside. And I'm just gonna, yeah, kind of just go around the whole thing. So, I go in and on the outside I come back out. And I keep doing that all the way around. So when you get to the end and you pull the string, it will close up like that. Pretty neat, huh? And then I'll just make sure to leave a little opening at the top because we're going to stuff it with some polyfill. And I end up using all of it that's laying right there because you can really get it in there and packed up. But I just do a little bit at a time just to kind of get a feel for how much I want. So, I'll put some in there and then pull it tight. And if I feel like I can fit more, I'll add more. And then I'll start pulling it tight again while I'm holding the polyfill in there. And what I do to this pumpkin, I'm going to do to the other pumpkin as well. When I get close to having it all the way pulled tight, I'm going to stick my little wood piece in there for the peduncle, make sure it fits. And then I'll go ahead and tie it off and cut off the thread. And I'm making sure I'm happy with it, and I am. I'm going to put my peduncle back in and then pull it out, add some hot glue and press it down and hold it. And then I got to start making these little crevices on the pumpkin, and I'm going to use some jute twine for that. And yeah, I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go along, how tight I want it, how big of a piece I need. So I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue first and get that top piece in. Hold it down with a finger protector because this is hot. Then I cut it shorter than what I need so that way when you pull it tight around, it creates those creases in the pumpkin. So first I do it one way around, and then I go, oops, sorry, then I go the other way. You'll see right here. So you will end up with 4 pieces to the pumpkin. And then once I've done this one, I'll do it 2 more times. So you end up with, I think it's 8 creases on the pumpkin. And I'll show you here what that looks like. So that's what it looks like. Then I'm just pulling some of those glue strings off. And now I made the other one as well. And now we're going to add some embellishments. And of course, that includes some Spanish moss. And we go around the top of the pumpkin just with adding some hot glue. And then we'll go in with some leaves. So what I do to this pumpkin, I'll do the same to the other pumpkin. There may just be some differences in colors of the sunflowers. And I think for the pumpkin fabric part, I'm also using some of those little tiny berries, baby breath, whatever they are from that pig. But yeah, I'm adding some leaves first. Then I'll add the sunflower. And then we're gonna go in. Yeah, I'm using my pencil again to wrap around the berry garland thing here. And almost the size of the pencil. And then I'm gonna add that around the peduncle of the pumpkin. But I didn't want it to overlap the sunflower, so I'm going under it a little bit. I'll just lift it up. And then I just twist that around. And that's what it looks like. And you'll see the other one in the final reveal, which we're getting to right now. So here they all are. Let me know what you think about these. These were so much fun to make, and I think they turned out absolutely adorable. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video with me, thank you so much. It means the world to me. And if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, like, and comment. It would really help my channel grow. And don't forget to go down in my description box and check out the other hosts and also the playlist. There are so many talented creators in here, and you are sure to get inspired by every single one of them. Until next time.